Hello, this is Cheryl, and I was asked to do a video on how I created the foundation for this textured flower center. For those who are interested in learning how to create it, this video I'm going to attempt to show you how I created this netted circle. And this is for the textured center of the sunflower that I did in the previous video. And the link to the video, if you want to see the video, is going to be up above if you want to see the video before this one. And we'll get on with it. So I'm using an 18 gauge copper wire. It's not coated, it's bare copper. And 28 gauge copper bare wire. And you can see I got it from monsterslayer.com. It's right on there on the spool. I'm using a pair of round nose pliers, a pair of nylon pliers, a pair of nippers, and I have bent nose pliers just in case I need to grab a wire to pull through. So you need to figure out the circumference of the center of your piece. So mine was approximately the size of this paint bottle. It's like a 4 ounce or 8 ounce, I don't know, 4 ounce I think, acrylic paint bottle. And I'm taking my 18 gauge wire and I'm going to use my nylon pliers just to straighten it and get any kinks out of it. And I pull the wire through the nylon pliers. So then I'm going to cut off maybe a 7-inch piece of wire. Something like that. I think I measure it out. 6.5, 7 inches, I think it was. There you go. So I am going to take my wire and I'm going to wrap it around my hard round object to form the circle. Now this is not going to be an exact fit. It's just something approximate. And as you can see, it's going to be too big, but that's okay. So I squish the wire together, push it together to get the size I need. And I keep pushing the wire together till it stays where I want it. You can pull the two ends together too. That works too. Just kind of nudging that wire to stay where I want it to be, the size that I need it to be. Okay, so now I've got my size, and I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to loop the ends in. Nice and tight and small. And I'm going to do the same to the other side. And then holding the wire, the frame, at the diameter that I need it, I bend the two ends across. Flip it over and do the other side. Bend the end across. And that holds the frame to the size that I need it to. You can adjust by bending, shaping a little bit with your fingers to get the piece to fit just right on top of the stained glass flower. So mine sits right on top of the solder of the flower. So now I've got a piece, I cut a piece of the 28 gauge wire about 26 inches long. You don't have to be exact, just a couple feet of wire is all you need. I'll show you how to add more wire during the video. So I'm going through one of the loops and I'm going to wrap the end a few times around the main wire. I think I do it 3 or 4 times. And then I take my other end and I do the same thing. Pulling the wire through the loop, over and around and through the loop, probably about 3 times. Pushing my little wire rounds together so they're nice and neat. Okay, now I'm going to pull my wire across the loop and I'm going to go up through the other loop on the other side. Now you're always trying not to kink your wire. So take your time with it. Put your thumb in between. You'll see as I go along, so that your wire won't kink on you. So I'm coming up through the loop and I go down and around and up through the loop again. I do that a couple times. Sorry, it's difficult to work with the wire, keep the piece under the camera. So it's unavoidable. And I apologize for being off camera sometimes. Okay, so now I went around the main wire and the top once. Okay, now I'm going to make my first net. So I'm holding a loop with my thumb as I wrap the wire around the wire that went across the piece. As you can see, I'm going around that wire and I'm creating my first net piece, my first net loop. So I go around that wire that crosses over the middle a couple of times and I made a loop. See? And then after that I go up through the loop I just made and around the wire. It goes around the wire. Through the big loop, through the hoop. And then I go to attach it over and around the outside of the main frame. So I'm crossing over, going over that frame a couple of times. And then I go through the other side. I hope I'm explaining this easily enough for you to understand. Okay, and then I cross over again and I do the same thing. Go over under the wire and wrap it around twice right there. Taking care not to crimp your wire, so go slow. And then coming up through the other side locks the knot in place. And I squish my little wraps together, and that forms a little knot and makes the net. So you have your first row of netting almost done. I'm going to go and I'm going to put another loop through, but I'm connecting to the round curl that we did on the main frame. And I'm going to wrap around again. I'm going to do the same thing, go around twice, and then come up underneath the loop we just made. So I'm going around twice now. And now I'm going to come up. No, I'm sorry, I went over the main frame. Okay, so we have the first row done, but the process is exactly the same. Now I'm going to hold my thumb and keep the loop open. You don't want to pull too much through. You want to form your net. So I'm forming my little loop, and I'm going to hold that right there so it doesn't get smaller. I'm going to wrap my wire around upper loop twice. And then come up through the bottom, through the loop we just made. Back down through the upper loop. On to make another net. The next one. Down through the upper loop in the previous row. Form my little net. Twice. And then come up through the bottom of the loop we just made. Sometimes I use a screwdriver or a round, Phillips screwdriver to open my nettings, keep them open so they're not getting squished on me. So I'm coming up through the bottom of the loop I just made. So it's the same procedure over and over again. Go through the loop of the previous row, go around it twice, sometimes you need those needle nose to pull the wire. I went around the wire twice. And then I'm going to come up through the loop that I just made. Wrap it around the main frame twice. And then once on the other side of the wire. Stretching my net out. Now we have 2 rows done. So you flip it over and you do the same thing. As you can see, my nets are opposite. It's like a brick pattern. Okay, and right now we're growing our brick pattern, so every row we add another loop. And it's the same procedure. You use the loop in the previous row, you put your wire through it, preserving your new net loop. Go around it twice, and then come up through the loop we just made, back down, and on to the next one. Same procedure. And once you get used to it, you can go real fast. It doesn't take long to make these at all. It's just I'm trying to show you, and I got the camera there, trying to work at a different angle. And trying to slow down so you can see what I'm doing. It wasn't easy. But it's the same thing over and over again until you fill the circle. So when you're starting out with this thing, slow down my video or pause it, go back and do it, try and follow it in the beginning. Is where you're going to catch on to the pattern. It looks more difficult than it is. It's really not hard to do. Up through the one we just did. Okay, now I'm going to hook it over. Frame. Around a couple times. Wire, and that locks it in place. Flip it over and start another row. Start skipping to reduce my length of my rows. I'm skipping the first one. I don't want it to grow anymore. And I'm doing a loop in the second loop of the prior row. And now I'm starting to reduce my row size. And then continue all the way across in the same pattern. Go through the loop in the previous row twice, and then come up through the loop we just made, back down, and start another loop. Coming up through the back of the loop we just made. So I hope you've got this. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Happy to help. I don't know. I guess I'm going to leave this video normal speed so you can watch it. If you want to speed through it to get to the end, you can do that. If I have something to add to my comments, I will. But I think I've repeated myself a few times on the pattern. I'll leave that up to you to watch or to speed through it. So you see my wire's getting short. So I will go through see the process of changing out or adding a new wire. Okay, I think we're going to change out our wire now. So go around the main frame. Nope, I put one more loop in. So now we're going to change out our wire over to another piece. So wrap that around 3 times. Go on the other side of the wire, pull it through. So another piece that's about a couple feet long. Very simple. I wrap the short end around the main wire, just like you did in the beginning when you started. About 3 times. to it. So I don't know, I think I'm going to fast forward through some of this because it's just repetitive and make adjustments because the size of the circle or the size of you're trying to fill in is going to get smaller and smaller. So you reduce by skipping one of the first loops on the row so that you reduce the number of net loops as you go. So I'm going to go fast forward through some of this. So I jumped ahead instead of having you watch me do more rows, which could be boring. I jumped ahead a few rows and I'm doing double speed at the moment. So you can see what I'm doing. And then at the end when I start to do the last row and I'm finishing the circle, I'm going to slow it down to normal speed. But it's the same process as we've been going. The other thing I wanted to mention too is that I think with this one I had one too many rows of netting because when you go to solder this, you want space between the seeds so that they don't merge together. Because I found that on this one, I had a couple of seed spots that wanted to, the solder being hot, wanted to blend in with the other seed. So I think you need the space between them. So don't do as many rows as I'm doing on this one. I think that the lesser amount of seeds and it just needs the space around them to form a nice seed. Okay, now I've slowed it down to normal pace. So now I'm going to do the same thing I did with the very first row. I'm going to crisscross between the netted part and the frame. And that will finish it off. Doing the same thing over to under through the loop that we just created and then on to the next one. You can see that it's coming to a conclusion here. So I hope this video was helpful to you. I tried to make it as clear as I could. I know it's hard to see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. In the beginning I tried to stay slow and, concise and clear about what I was doing. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. I'm always coming up with new ways of doing things and new things to do. So I like to be creative and think outside the box, so to speak. So it is done, and now all we do is pull the ends as nice and tight, give them a couple tugs, and then just snip them off close to the frame, being careful not to snip any of your netting wires. So there's the net. And there's how it looks on my piece. And this one I did in a copper patina. After I soldered it. But I'm not going to show you that in this video. But I will show you the end piece if you stick to the end. There you go. Good view of it. So here's the piece done in the copper patina with the textured center. And I show you how to do that again in the previous video. So if you want to see how that was done with solder, check that video out. And here is the piece in the black patina, and that is that. You tell me which you prefer in the comments. I really like to know if you like the copper patina or the black patina. Let me know. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.